Hey guys, welcome back. Here's what we have on the agenda today. I'm going to be working on the green weenie. There we go. It is going to be going to my brother Drew, which I'm really excited about. Hold on just a sec. All right. So I'm glad we're not selling him, and we're going to be getting him off to my brother, and he's going to spend some time working on him. He'll stay in the family, which is wonderful. Okay, so this is what I'm going to start working on. So I'm shifting gears from Smokey, my dad's 55, to the green weenie here. You can see, and this is pretty common with all of them. It's from 1952, so there's going to be some rust. I've gone over in my other videos and talked about how clean of a truck he is, and really doesn't have a whole lot of rust. There's only a couple places, and this is one of those places. So I went online, and thankfully for YouTube, love YouTube. It's one of the reasons I'm making the videos I am, so that hopefully I can help others. But there's another gentleman that did repair on these front fenders for a 50, I think it was a 51 he was working on, same truck. And the sheet metal that he got, and I think it's the same one that I have here, it doesn't quite line up. And mine is doing the same thing. It's a little short, I believe. So I watched his videos. I'm going to do mine a little different. He took and he used the entire height of the patch panel. I'm going to use just the bottom. I want to keep as much of the original patina, or as original as we can get, of the green paint. And so I'm going to run a tape line right across here, and then I'm going to get the measurements for that and try to match it to this guy that I have over here and see how that works. So that's what I'll be working on today. I'll come back and show you guys other videos. I don't have a tripod or anything like that to show it, so I'll just bring you guys back as I work through parts, show you where I am. First thing is to take these little extra pieces of metal off here that the running board's attached to. I'm also working on the running boards, not today, but thankfully we've got our AgFab shop has some plasma cutters, and I'm seeing if I made a template for this front of this running board, because this one is a little buggered up, and so I'll be working on that hopefully this next week, getting the new little patch panel for that guy welded in so that I can get these guys. And I think they turned out really well as far as the Duplicolor bed liner that I sprayed on them. I think they're really going to be durable. I might give them another coat before Drew grabs them. I don't want to get all of this done, fixed up and welded in, and I want to weld these corners. There's some stuff up there in the corners as well. But anyway, back to today. So this is what we're working on today. I'm going to wash it down and then tape it up and then go from there. So see you guys back in a bit. I marked off by using the blue tape my cut line, so I'm going to go right above the top of the blue tape there, and that's where I'm going to cut. There's some, and I think that this right here, this silver, I think that's lead. So I'm going to have to scrape some of that back when I weld the new piece on. We'll have to see when I cut into it. But that's what I'm looking at right now. All this, as you can see. And then there's some Bondo right up here, but I felt the backside, and it must be a really thin layer because there really aren't any dents or any deformities or rust or anything that I can feel coming through on the backside. And then right under here, to keep it from vibrating, I used a vice grip up under there to hold it steady so that it's solid when I do the cut. So next thing is to jump in here and get the cuts going. All right, so here we are. I've used some magnets to attach the replacement piece. So I'll tell you kind of how I got here. I had some pieces that I cut off here, So this is the piece that I cut off of the bottom right here. And I started taking measurements off of it and trying to measure it, and it was just going to be a disaster. So I went, wait a minute, how should I put this together? So I thought about all the other YouTube videos and channels I've watched, and got a piece of cardboard, traced over it with cardboard, made a cardboard template, and then laid the cardboard template over the replacement steel that I had. And let's see here, grab this replacement piece here and then put it on. So there's the replacement steel, and here's the new one. Now there's a lot of flex in this original, on the original Fender. I was really worried, and I know I've talked about a lot in those videos. I watched Joe Daddy's Garage. He went through, and the Fender pieces that the replacement he bought were too short. This one, however, it lines up perfectly. From vintage Ford, it comes all the way around. You can see it's going to line up. Now, it's not, I don't have anything fastened really tight, so you can see there's a little bit of a sway, but that's because this Fender itself flexes. There's a lot of flex in it, so it is going to, everything will come together. Right now I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to get it together, to at least hold it together so that I can spot weld it right now, because the back side of this piece from vintage Ford has this double ply, and it goes up way, it's a lot more, it's sturdier than this one and built to last a lot longer than the original. So that's what I'm trying to do. The thickness of this panel versus this one are different. So that's what I'm working on, and I'll show you guys what happens next. Hey guys, it's Saturday afternoon, been out here getting the replacement patch panel put on the green Weenie, so I thought I'd show you guys what's going on here. Here we go. I'm not a professional welder by any stretch of the imagination or body person, but watched a lot of YouTube videos. So here we go. I'm trying to separate all my little spot welds here with this patch panel. And we're moving forward, so just gonna go ahead and clean it off here. trying to keep the original green. You can see I'm blowing through in a couple little parts, like right there and right here and right here. So I'll try to heat up the bottom metal. I think that's how I do it. I'll just heat up the bottom metal a little bit more and then try to span it out and over on those guys. But it seems to be stitching together here, slowly but surely, and looks pretty straight as I'm coming down here. Try not to get any waves in it, and then what I'll do is I'll scuff all the zinc that they've got, the rest of it that's on, or whatever coating they have on this little patch panel, and then I'll let it rust, and then I'll hit it with the VHT, and it'll look like that. So hopefully it'll look the same, and then trying to keep as much of the green here as I possibly can. So yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a little update, show you what's going on, and as I move forward, I'll show you. Oh, wanted to show you one other thing. For there's the running boards. And I was grateful. Mr. B and Merrick and Decker were kind enough to do some learning on the AutoCAD and figure out how to put things in PHP format and then get them scanned in. And look at that, carriage bolts work, fit perfectly. So these will go on the end of, and I'll talk more about these when I am working on the running boards a little bit more. But we're getting that patch panel all dialed in, and I'll get that taken care of today. At least, hopefully this one right here, you can see there's not a lot of wave in it. Looks pretty straight there. And so once I get that all dialed in, then I'll do the other side. Truck's going to Drew's this week, so I got to get everything done as fast as I can. Thanks, guys. coming together. One little weld at a time. It's all coming together. So I'm just putting in a weld, going about 3 inches, putting another weld, blowing through a little bit there still. But I'm building up the bottom and then coming up real quick. But moving along, we're getting there. So yesterday, this is what I ended with. My first time ever working on sheet metal for a car. If you haven't checked out HAFF Rod's builds, Rob HAFF Rod's builds, he explains a lot of things, and man, his body work on his 55 Chevy,
his wife's
55 two-doors, flawless. But anyway, one of the things he talks about is using roll-lock discs with an abrasive pad to knock down the welds, and I don't have any, so I used my pad on my grinder, and it just didn't come out exactly the way I want. I mean, it's somewhat flush on parts of it, but you can see right here, you know, to try to get, it's still got these little bits right here where the weld itself, this isn't a crack, this is the base of the weld in through here, and I just couldn't get them. Some places I was able to grind it all the way down around the front and so forth, but luckily the patina look on this is going to be nice. You won't even really tell, you know. it'll all be rusty and then covered with the VHT. So, but that just irritates me. I don't like to have anything. I want it to look like, you know, like clean metal like that all the way around. But it's hard for me to knock those down and not take the other parts of the steel down. It was just starting to take everything else down. I went from piece to piece, you know, every 3 inches, putting in a tack weld, every 3 inches putting in another little tack weld, and tried to keep the heat down. Used air compressor to blow the area off and cool it down. But it's still, you can see right here the wave as it comes in. I think if I had the panel off, I could actually beat that back out, but if you look in through here, it's reinforced. The bottom panel is reinforced, so I think it's the thickness of this piece right here and the heat that I had to apply to the bottom to get everything to work, or at least the weld to go through, penetrate and everything. But it did penetrate. You can see all the way through here, all the way around. Had good penetration all the way around. I do have to fix, there's one part that I missed right over there that I'll have to weld today. But yeah, so there we go. That's about what I'm going to leave it at right now. I might pound it out a little bit, but I'm going to hit it with my, got a little DA sander, and I'll sand that down, the whole thing, so it has the same appearance all the way around, and then spray some water on it, let it start to rust down a little bit, and then maybe do a little bit of sanding in here to feather it so it doesn't look as jagged, and then let it rust a little bit, put the VHT on to seal it, and there we go. So this is what the other side looks like before I start on it. And then today I'll be cutting that off and getting the other piece welded on. So here's how I make my templates. I get a piece of cardboard, and then the piece that I cut out, I set it down on the cardboard. I find a good edge, in this case it's the edge that's folded so I know it's straight, and then as I'm rolling this piece out, since it's a curved piece, I come along and I trace the edges of it as I'm moving along. So I'll be tracing here and tracing here every time it gets flat. And then when I get down to the end, then obviously I do that, get the entire thing cut out, and then I'll check to make sure that it's exactly what I want. So I used a cordon bleu cardboard for this, but I can see this is exactly what I'm looking for. It's going to come to the edge. Now, it's not going to be the identical length. I can measure actually from one end to the other, but you can see the bottom of this one is pretty deformed of the piece that I cut off of the fender. So I'll slap this guy onto the new fender, vice grip it down and then mark it, and then I'll cut it. Look at all the Bondo that was coming through. Someone slapped onto the outside of it. Crazy. All right, so that's what we look like. It's cut off, and next one I'll show you before I cut it, the template on it. All right, so my template is cut out, and oops. Obviously, use a lot of vice grips, and I attached it to the replacement piece of sheet metal here. See, I put it right down to the bottom. Right here, measured it right into the bottom. Long, held everything in place. Then came in with the Sharpie. And you gotta admit, that's making you hungry, right? Oh, those cordon bleus from Costco are so good. Anyway, yeah, so ran along with the Sharpie here, and then what I'll do is I'll put a piece of blue tape along the edge here underneath, and then I'll cut this off, and then we'll attach it there. But I wanted to show you guys the process that I'm using to put mine together. Remember, I'm not a professional. This is my first time ever working on sheet metal, but after watching YouTube videos and just thinking it through, this is what I've come up with. Everything seems to match. I put into play the amount of steel that's going to be lost by using the cutoff wheel. There's about, I don't know, 1/16 or so. All right, so that's what I'm doing, and next thing it'll probably be cut off, or I'll show you guys what it looks like with the blue tape. Okay, so here's the blue tape. I could have just cut along the Sharpie line, but for me, it's a lot easier to keep the cutting wheel on the blue tape than I think I just end up oscillating back and forth when I'm cutting on just the Sharpie line itself. But when I've got this nice big blue tape line, I can see exactly where I'm going, you know, to meet it at the end, if I make sure I don't veer off at all, because I want to make sure the edge matches the edge on the fender itself. So this is what I'm set up with. So now I'll give it a cut, and then next time you guys see it, it'll probably be mounted up there and getting ready to tack it in. Okay, here's the latest update. Well, this side, goods and bads. Not as easy as the other side, but I'm learning. So let's see here. My template came up a little short. You can see right there on the back, it didn't line up exactly perfect. And then on the front, excuse my little bit of mess here, but I had to do a little metal sculpting here, so I had to bring it out, and then I'm gonna use a lot of the MIG wire to build up, and then I'm gonna contour it so it'll look the same as it did. But yeah, it was a little, maybe about a 1/16 of an inch short on this side right there. And then the other problem I was having, which I wish I would have done on the other side, and I'm learning this, is I wish I would have done this, and that was put some backing on the reinforced side that originally comes from the new replacement panel. Has that backing, and when I tried to clamp them together, the thickness of the original sheet metal versus the thickness of the piece with the reinforcement in it was causing it to twist. So I used some plug welds and put in these little plates. I will go around and I'll weld the plates a little bit better. Right now this is just kind of the way it is, and then I'll put seam sealer back here so it's not gonna get any moisture in it or anything like that. But now that not only did it allow me to clamp on tight, but it created a backing for my welds as I'm going through it. And if you can see that right there, see, now those plates are in between here, and I'm able to weld the backing plate, which bridges the gap between the two pieces of metal, and each piece, the replacement panel and the original panel. It is getting into some of the green, but when I'm done, I think it's going to look very, very much like it did before. So, and then the other thing I'm learning is not to get weld happy with my little spot welds here. And once I get done doing a bunch of them, I come back, I weld them off, and then I put more in, so I don't have that big buckle that I had last time. So that's where I am right now. I'm going to do some grinding and then keep going on this. Okay guys, well, here's the finished product. I definitely, it's my first time working on sheet metal on a car, but I think it turned out pretty well. It has a sway. If I had the fender off of the car, I'd be able to beat this a little bit. You can see right there, see how it comes out a little bit. It irritates me, but it comes out like this right there. But being the patina car that it is, and when it has this color, I really don't think you're going to notice it. And with the running boards on, I think it's going to look nice. I think everything's going to look really good. I'm going to have that look to it. So yeah, he has new fenders now. Running boards are going to go on. I've got to fabricate the front. Well, not so much fabricate, but weld on these new pieces that we had cut for the running boards. So I'll do a whole little series on doing the running boards. But yeah, here's one of them I bent earlier today. It's going to fit on right here. And so once I get that on, then I can weld up the little ends here. These little guys right there. On each one of them, make sure that they're sealed. And Drew will be coming on Wednesday, so on Thursday I'll probably finish these guys up, give them last coats of paint on the bottom of them. And then should be good to go. Here's the other side. So all in all, being my first time working on them, I'm pretty impressed. I'm pretty happy. Everything worked out. So I think the old green weenie is going to look good. Has new life, new set of fenders, go all the way down, not full of rust, and I think it's going to work out okay. We'll get them washed off and I want to get the rest of the door sanded down before we get it over to his house, and as much of the cab as I can get to get the green, reveal as much of the green as we can. Started working a little bit more on this part as well. I did this the other day, right up through here, and then I got that piece right there as well. So there we go, guys. Front fenders done. I had to do a little metal sculpting like I talked about here on the front. My template was a little off, so it's not perfectly symmetrical the way it was, but I don't think anyone will tell the difference. I think it gives him character. So it's done. It's part of the truck. So, and he's been a great truck to learn on and get some stuff figured out. And I did in the back here, I did weld these guys up. I'll sand them down and put seam sealer, but these backing plates, I welded them up, and everything's really solid, and it's not coming off, that's for sure. It's definitely stronger than it ever was before. And I think I was gonna drill some holes in, but I think might drill a little hole in the bottom of this one just in case water does get in it. It comes out. But all right, guys, just thought I'd give you a look at what he looks like, and it's moving forward. The green weenie is coming back to life.